What's up? Oh wow. That sounds kind of rough. What's up? What's up? Um, this is your girl Courage Molina, pastor of Dose of Courage Community Church. We are an online global church for women, and we do church differently by divine design. What does that mean? It means one, we're women only. That's different. It means that church happens on Saturday instead of Sunday. It means that the sermon is Bible teaching, right? That's how we do. We just different over there. Um, and so right now we're doing this 90-day Bible reading challenge as a community. Um, you are either reading the entire Bible in 90 days along with me, or you are committed to reading the Bible every day for 90 days. It is not too late for you to join us when you sign up at bit.ly/capital D, capital O, capital C, 90, capital DAY. You will get emailed weekly with what the daily readings are. Okay, so you don't want to miss out on that, right? So just join us. So let's look at day 10. This is Leviticus chapter 27 through the book of Numbers, chapter 8. And it's still not exciting yet, guys. If I'm honest, there's a lot of things I thought about. Okay. I thought about a lot of stuff, but it's not necessarily exciting. I have my notes over here. So at the end of Leviticus, what is it? So there's, first of all, I listened to the entire thing. And then after I'm done listening for the hour or the hour and 10 minutes, then I write my notes down. So this is not necessarily in order in which it happens. This is why you got to read the Bible for yourself. It's not necessarily in order. It's probably jumping around a bit. It's just as I remembered it, as I wrote my notes out. Because you can't be pausing it to write your notes, especially me, because then I'll never get through day one. I'll never get through the day. Because it's about an hour and some change of reading or listening. And if I stop every time I have a question or aha, I ain't never going to get through it. And so it's not studying, it's just reading. And so when I read it or when I listen to it, after I'm done, then I just write out my notes and then I share them with you here. And so, there are still all these rules about what happens and all these, like sacrifices and atoning and consequences for things that go wrong. They talk about the jealous offering. Now, this jealous offering, the whole time I'm listening, I'm kind of got my eyebrow up at the Lord, like, okay, so let me get this straight. So if the husband says that the wife has been cheating, but she says she ain't been cheating, and ain't nobody catch her in the act. So the spirit of jealousy has come over him. He could take her to the priest. The priest is going to mix some holy water and some dirt off the floor, and then she's going to drink it. And then if she's telling the truth, then she won't have the curse. But if her stomach swells and her thigh fall off, then she must have did it. Now, I don't like this. And then if he is wrong, then he pays something, and then that's it. Neither one of them has any guilt. He don't have any guilt. She don't have no guilt. No, I don't like this. I don't like this. I'm gonna tell you why I don't like it. I don't like it because I feel like, first of all, y'all didn't catch her in the act. She say she didn't do it. I thought jealousy was not a good trait. I thought that was not a godly trait. So why he don't have nothing to pay for his jealousy? He ain't got no proof. I don't like it. I don't like it. And you know what? God has got enough for him to be cool with me not liking it. He don't care. Okay. It don't change nothing. He said what he said. I don't like it. And he said, I ain't got to like it, but this is what it is. So I really I just felt away. I know that a lot of times with Christian culture, we feel like we got to be down, like I ain't gotta love everything. Now I respect that he is God. This is his world. I'm just a squirrel. You know what I'm saying? In his world, like I get that. But baby, I didn't like that. And I was just like, you tripping. And then I also thought that's probably why these men be out here cheating right now, because I didn't hear anything about if the wife thinks the husband is cheating. What is the ramification of that? Do he have to drink the bitter water? Because I ain't hear nothing about that. Okay. So I felt away. God is still God and God is still good. And I can feel away. Okay. It's not going to change nothing. I ain't going to stop following the Lord because I don't understand or like everything I read. That's just what it is. I'm like, this is not good. You know what I'm saying? I didn't like it, but it is what it is. Then in Numbers, God tells Moses to do a census. And so this is the first census that I can remember. I don't remember any other censuses being done. It's the first one that I can remember. And it seemed like this was a distinction of the tribes. Like, I don't know if they already knew these tribes or whatever. I just felt like this was the start. Like, this is the official, I'm writing your name down. You are the leader of this tribe. What I liked about the census, even though it just seems like a bunch of names and a bunch of people, if you're reading the entire Bible in 90 days, then some of those names mean something to you. You know who they are. Reuben, Joseph, Ephraim, Manasseh, Simeon, Issachar, you know those names if you are reading the entire Bible in 90 days. Not because they are not because they don't just blend into all the other things we can't pronounce from the Bible, but because these are Jacob's boys. These are Israel boys. Then it starts to make me think, so children of Israel, we call them the Israelites. I'm just curious. I mean, I didn't look it up. I don't have the answer for you. I'm just telling you what I thought. I thought, oh, wow. So is that what we call them, the Israelites? I know that there's a present day Israel, right? But is it present day Israel because of Jacob, who God changed his name to Israel? Or was it always Israel? Because I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't have memorized in my mind the names of the cities and stuff. I know Canaan, I know Bethlehem. And so now I'm like, oh, they're the Israelites because these are the children of Jacob who God changed his name to Israel. So that stuck out to me. I also liked hearing the names and hearing the number of people who were with each tribe, because this is proof when you write this down, right? Because I think to myself, why include this? Like, of all the things that needed to be saved and kept on record, why the census? You know what I'm saying? Like, for the Bible, not that it didn't need to be kept on record for the community, but why is that important for it to be included in Holy Scripture? Like, I don't get it. But listening today, what I realized is that these names, the number of people from these names, this is proof right here that God is a promise keeper. It helps you to understand the magnitude at which God delivers on his promise, right? So if you think back to Abraham, who had no kids, there was no heir, and God said, I'm going to make you into a nation. He changed his name. Wow. Okay, my bad. He changed his name from Abram to hold on one second. Oh man, come on now. Sorry. He changed his name from Abram to hold on. Sorry, y'all. He changed his name from Abram to Abraham. He changed Sarai's name from Sarai to Sarah, right? Because he was promising them that nations and kings would come from them. This is the record of that. This is the record of what God said, right? He said he was going to do it. And it's not just like 5 or 6. Did y'all see this? Like, do y'all see? I mean, maybe y'all didn't see, but maybe if you are reading and if you read day 10 and you're reading the entire Bible in 90 days, then you saw like, OMG, he ain't just do like, And then it just started to make me think, boy, the Lord will make a promise to us. He will promise to do something in and through our lives. And we cannot even, he tries to help us fathom, right? Like he really uses his great communication skills, but we are so resistant sometimes. Sometimes we are so blind. Sometimes we have such, I'm getting some glasses. I'm getting some glasses, right? So that I can see better. I can see. And so since I can see, I think I can see real good. I can't. I realize that when I go someplace I've never been before and I have to read the signs, I realize that, just often, right? Like I realize like, oh, I can't see as great as I thought I could see before, right? When I put my glasses on, then I can really see. And I feel like even though the Lord is trying to show us, he wants to reveal to us the massive way in which he is going to bless us, the level at which he's going to deliver on his promise. Y'all remember he took Abraham, he said, look at the stars in the sky. That had to seem like such a hyperbole, right? It had to seem like a conversational, creative storytelling exaggeration. Right? It had to. So I'm a storyteller, not a liar, right? I'm a storyteller. And so when I tell stories about where I've been or what I've done or whatever, if I'm telling you something funny that happened, in order to be a great storyteller, sometimes there's some exaggeration needed for effect, right? That's why they say based on a true story, right? Because there's some creative liberties. And so I think that when we hear God say to Abraham, look at the stars in the sky, right? Because he's saying that to us on some level about something. Look at this. And if you can number those, he said, look at the sand. If you can number the grains of sand. If you've ever been to the beach, it's like, what? Like that just blows your mind. Absolutely blows your mind. There was a time where I could not imagine making more than $10,000 a month. Like my brain just could not wrap around. Based on, come on, you know where Abraham was? He was old man. He had no kids. Sometimes based on where you are, you can only imagine to a certain degree. And this is proof that God does exceedingly and abundantly. Abraham could not grasp how great the nation was that was going to come from his loin, that was going to be seeds of his seed. He just could not grasp that thing. And this census with the numbers help the children of Israel, right? Those that would come to read this, help them to see not only did God make a promise to Abraham, but this is the level at which he kept that promise. That just encouraged me so much. Who knew that a census could be so encouraging? It just encouraged me so much. What else did we see here? They explain the Nazarene dedication. It's explained like when you commit or you take this Nazarene oath, it means you're not going to eat no grapes. You're not even going to eat grapes. You're not going to eat grapes. You're not going to have grape juice. You're not going to have grape wine. You're not going to have vinegar. You're not going to have a lot of this stuff. You're not going to cut your hair. And you're not going to be unclean. That means even if your brother or your sister or your daddy or your cousin die, you're not going to be around that dead body, because to be around that dead body makes you unclean, and then you have to shave your head. He said, even if somebody dropped dead next to you, like, oh, you ain't know, you was just walking, then they just dropped dead, boom, now, and it touched, now you unclean. Now you got to go through the period of cleaning, right? Then on the seventh day, you got to cut your hair. You got to give an offering. You didn't even did nothing. But this is the dedication of the Nazarene. Why does that matter? Because this is what I'm saying. That's why we got to read Old Testament, y'all. Samson, y'all know Samson? Okay, somebody's going, yeah, Samson. Because Samson, he was dedicated, his mom or whoever, somebody dedicated him as a Nazarene. They took the Nazarene oath for him. And so when he talks about, I've never had this, you're like, I think when I read that stuff, like, where'd that come from? Like, I never heard of that. Where that came from? Well, it came from this. It was prescribed. It's set out right here. What that looks like is set out right here. The Levites belong to God. We find that out. So now the Levites are going to be the ones that are responsible for taking care of the tabernacle. They're going to be the ones that are responsible for taking care of the holy things and doing the holy things and being the holy people. They belong to God. And so God says, I want you guys to dedicate you owe me your firstborn. Because I remember he reminded them about the Passover, how he killed all the firstborn of Egypt, but he did not. And so this is the thing. So now they have to dedicate the firstborn. But he said, I'm going to let your firstborn stay with you. Instead, I want you to count all the Levites. So they count because he's going to swap them out. They count all the Levites, and they're like a couple hundred short for the firstborn. So after they've done the census, and he wants them to take a census of all the firstborn, 1 month old and up. He wanted a census of all the firstborns because those are the ones that they owe him. That's what I want you to dedicate. Those ones are going to be dedicated to me. You owe me your firstborn, not just your first fruit, your firstborn. And he says we're going to swap them out. So the tribe of the Levites, those are going to be the ones that are going to take the place of the firstborn. But there were like, however many Levites there were, they were like 200 and some change more firstborn than Levites. So he was like, that's cool. You're going to pay a certain amount for every person that you're over, that there's not enough Levites. So let's say there were 1,000 Levites and there were 1,200 firstborn. Well, God's saying you're going to pay $100 for every firstborn over 1,000. And you're going to give that to the Levites. You're going to give that to the tabernacle. They belong to God. He swapped out the firstborn. They paid the difference. He's talking about what you give to the Levites, what you like, if you want to make a holy offering. He's talking about monetary things. He's talking about things that have monetary value, just so we're clear. He's talking about monetary things. Whatever you give to them, to these Levites who are charged with taking care of the holy things, that's what you've given to me. That is your oath to me. He even talks about it with Jubilee, right? So in the Jubilee, let's say somebody is on hard times and they have to sell what they have in order to, get money or survive or whatever, right? When the year of Jubilee, if they can't buy it back, then it doesn't go to them. But the person doesn't get to keep it. That person should give that land to the tabernacle, should give that land to the Levites. Because it's God's land, return it to God. And this offering is going to be calculated, how much, whatever. And that's going to be, like the value of the offering that they've given. Do you see what I'm saying? Your holy offering goes to the tabernacle. That is your offering to God. It belongs to the Levites, to the people who are assigned there. And then at the end, you could see that each tribe gave to the tabernacle according to whatever. Now, one of the things that I noticed earlier, not on this day, but on some other day, it's like whatever they had to give, like a half shekel, it was like everybody's given that. The rich are not going to give more. The poor are not going to give less. I thought that was something, that it was a requirement. Rich or poor, y'all going to pay the same amount because the amount is on the atonement or whatever. It's not based on how much you can give. You did the sin. This is the price. This is it, right? These are some things that really stood out to me as I thought about these. Like, these are just thoughts that I had. This is not from the Bible. These are just thoughts that I had. Is that God took care of the Levites, and the people made offering to God, to the tabernacle. Offerings to God. They gave that to the tabernacle. And so we give to charity and we give to outreach ministries. And I say this because I know that right now we are kind of getting away from tithing. We're kind of like, there are lots of schools of thought on tithing or whatever. And yes, it's Old Testament. I'm not going to teach on the tithing right now. I'm just saying we're kind of getting away from that, where the tithe goes to the church, or where the tithe goes to the house where you are getting spiritually the house of God. Let's call it that. We are getting away from giving our tithe to the church. We're getting away from giving our tithe to the house of God because we feel a type of way about what we think the church should be doing with the money, how it should be handled, how the men and the women of God should be living, all of these things. But this Old Testament example right here shows that it is not about that. What you give to the house of God, you give to God. What you give to the house of God, I'm going to say it again. What you give to the house of God, you give to God. What are you giving to God? I ain't say you can't give nothing else to God. I'm just looking at this word right here. What you give to the house of God, you give to God. What are you giving to the house of God? The tithe is the first fruit. The tithe is the 10%. That's the kind of set a standard. Jesus came and like he likes to do, he completely expanded that standard. But it's not about you giving 10%. It's about you being a cheerful giver, because some will give 10% when God is calling them to give 50%. Do you see what I'm saying? And some will give 10% when really 1% is a stretch for them, right? Do you see them? Or some aren't giving any. That's what really happens, actually. Some won't give any because 10% is more than they can give. Right? But this is not about the numbers. It's about understanding. Because I think that this is what you have to know. That the Bible, when we read and we study the Bible, it's not about getting the law down. Because the law was not meant to free us. The law, if the law could free us, we wouldn't need Jesus, right? So it's not about getting down the law. It's about really getting to know God. And so what does this reveal about this setup? Because man is not, I know, like me. Man is not setting this up. God is setting this up. So what does that reveal to you about the heart of God? What does that reveal to you about what type of person God wants you to be? What does that reveal to you about how God sees things? God says what you give to the house of God, you give to him. God says he's going to take care of the Levites. He does not mean in a supernatural way. I'm in this group. I really need to get out of it, but I'm in this group and they ask questions and people answer the questions. And I'm not always, sometimes I'm blown away by the questions, but more times than not, I'm blown away by the comments. And one of the comments was like, should a well-known pastor charge for going to another church? And we're not really getting into that, right? Like that was just a topic. And some of the comments were things like, no, because God's going to take care of them. Where do y'all get this from? I want to know how you think it's going to happen. Do you think that God is going to give them a money printing machine? Who do you think should take care of them? The people who are sitting in the room getting a word from them. Duh. Like when I tell you, just blows my mind. And so it's not about the money. It's about understanding the mind and the heart of Christ. Why is it set up this way? It's set up this way because God is going to take care of the tribe of Levi, right? The Levites. God's going to take care of them because he has pulled them out. He is saying here, they're going to do this thing in the tabernacle. And his way of taking care of them is this, that you would bring your first fruits to the house. His way is this, that if somebody can't buy their land back at the time of Jubilee, that a person who would be generous enough, a person that would be generous and would give that land to the Levites is blessing the Lord. That's how he's taking care of them. These tribes that are bringing in these valuable things, God said he's going to take care of the Levites. This is how. He's not dropping manna or money from the sky. The people who are served by what the Levites are doing, because the Levites are providing a service because of their assignment to God. But the people who benefit from that are the people who are a part of the children of Israel. So somebody's got to take care of the holy things. And it's the people, the chosen, the Levites. So how does God then take care of the Levites? By setting up this imposed generosity. Now, something else that I noticed is that when I think about like, okay, well, how come it's not like that now? I forgot something that I teach. Now I teach this and I forgot it. You know what? I forget that this Bible was written to a people that had a different culture than us, than me, for sure. And it started to make me think about some of the things that you see in the Bible, throughout the Bible, right? Because the culture at the time, hospitality was highly valued. Being generous was highly valued. Not that people said it was valued, it was actually highly valued. Like that is what if they were stunting with generosity, right? They weren't stunting with golds or gold chains. Their stunt, their flex was in their generosity. That was culture. That's their culture. So you can tell a community, it makes sense to tell this community that those who give to the tabernacle give to me, because it's a community who really values generosity and hospitality. How do we know that? You see that throughout. So remember when Abraham wanted to buy, I think it was Abraham wanted to buy land to bury his dead. And the guy was like, no, here before all these people, you can have the land. You ever wanted to buy a house or buy land and somebody was like, oh no, it ain't nothing, you can just have a house? I ain't never seen that either. I'm sure it happens, but I ain't never seen it. And so he wants to buy this plot of land. He's prepared and able to pay for it. And the guy's like, no, what is that between, like, no, you ain't got to pay for it, man. You good to us. You know, the blessings of the Lord are here because of you. We can see that you are beloved of God. Like, we good, fam. You can have it. That's not what happened. He was like, no, tell me. He's like, well, what is 25, 15, whatever, how many shekels between friends? He was like, okay, that's what it's valued at. Okay, cool. Let me pay that. But the reason they had that back and forth, and that's not the only time that you see it. There was a lady who had her home renovated so that when the man of God passed this way once a year. So when he passed this way next time, I want to have a room and a bed for him. So they spent their money, their time, their resources to create a space for a man who only came through town maybe once a year. They didn't have no phone call from him, no text message, no email, no calendar from him. They went above and it's the culture of generosity. You know what I'm saying? So it makes sense to me that this is how it's set up. But what we do in 2021 is we want to hold the leaders of churches, pastors, whoever, right? We want to say, oh, God's going to give them the money. They don't need no money from us. I remember when I started getting serious about tithing, to the church the place that I remember when I got serious about tithing, I was in such a tight spot. I was like, oh my gosh, I did not want to. I'm like, first of all, he did not need my money. He got plenty of money. But then, you know what? The Lord kept talking to me. I still didn't get the revelation at that time that what I give to the church, I give to God. But it was instruction from God. We were having an actual conversation. It wasn't something I got from the Bible. We were having an actual conversation, and I felt him press upon my spirit to give in that way. And I did, and things completely changed for us financially. Wow. People are really calling early this morning. It completely changed for us, financially, it completely changed for us. And I just thought, wow, that is really crazy. Let me put this phone on Do Not Disturb. I was like, wow, that is really crazy, right? I didn't get the revelation that what I give to the church, I give to God. What I give to the house of God, I give to God. I didn't get that. Why? Because in this day and age, we are so concerned about what the church might be doing or what the man of God is doing, or this one bought his wife this, and we feel some type of way. Where I put my money at whatever church, whatever house of God that I give it to, that dollar amount I'm giving, I give to God. And so these people wanted to be generous, not necessarily to the Levites. Are you hearing me? They didn't want to be generous to the Levites. They wanted to be generous towards God. They wanted to give God a holy blessing. That God prescribed the way in which he receives your offering. God prescribed the way in which he receives your generosity. And one of the ways that he receives your generosity is in what you give to the house of God. And so these were people who wanted to be generous to God because of what God had done for them, not for what. And they leave. Listen, let me tell you something. All those priests didn't do right. Aaron's boys didn't do right. If you continue on, we're going to see Old Testament. We're going to see some of these other boys. They ain't Eli's boys. The one, Eli's boys, yeah. Eli's boys. Eli's the one that got Samuel. Maybe they were Samuel's boys. Eli, Samuel over there, 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel over there somewhere. Them boys wasn't good. They was taking advantage of the people. But what they gave to the house of God, they gave to God. And God cleaned his own house. God cleaned his own house, because these folks who in the house of God, taking advantage of the people of God, these last boys we just saw burned up. The other boys dropped dead. Boom. You understand what I'm saying? Like, God cleaned his own house. He cleaned his own house. I think we also think we know stuff that we don't know. You don't know what God is telling people to do. You don't know what God is doing for people. And it's like this thing I've been saying, like, this is something like the Lord has really, really been dealing with me on, is that God can be generous to whoever he wants, whether you think they deserve that generosity or not. And so when we recognize that all that we have in this world belongs to God, then I'm not upset that my pastor, Stephen Furtick, lives in a house that is like $1 million house. I'm not mad at that. And I'm not mad at that, not only because I benefit from the work that I wouldn't be here. You understand what I'm saying? I benefit from the work that he does. I'm not just saying that because I benefit from the work. I say that because he's God's kid, and God can be as generous to him as he chooses to be. And that's really not my business. So I feel like, I'm also excited to see God's generosity in the lives of people who are doing what they've been called to do. I also like to see that because I feel like, I'm going to do what I'm called to do. So I can't wait to see the Lord's generosity in my life. Can't wait. So that's why I don't be minding other folks, because you don't know that God hasn't called them to. Well, it shouldn't be. People be like, so-and-so shouldn't have bought a Lambo. So-and-so shouldn't have bought a whatever. Like, I'm not saying I'm buying no Lambo because that's not my, that's just not my preference. But I ain't going to I'm not going to be saying that a person may not know God because they got it. Like, I just don't know where we get it from. I know where we get it from because it ain't in the Bible. That's why I be so confused. Like, where you get that from? Yeah, but they don't say that. And then people will quote scripture, misquote it, misinterpret. It's just a mess, y'all. It'd be a mess out here if you ask me. Listen, I have been, and probably will be at some time in the future, a part of that mess. All right, so this is it for day 10. As always, I want to invite you to join us on Saturday morning for church. Dose of Courage community. We at church now. Ew. So I'm your girl, Courage Molina, pastor and founder of the DOC Community Church. For women, the DOC community is really a place where women fall in love with being in the Word of God. Like, let's be honest, okay? Leviticus, Numbers, not that exciting. How have I done though? Every day in here, right? You've never been so excited to hear about Leviticus. You've never been so excited to hear about Numbers before in your life, okay? And so this little bit that I've done here pales in comparison to what God is doing on Saturday morning, 8 a.m. EST. One of the reasons I absolutely love that it's a women's church and it takes place on Saturday morning is because it doesn't have to compete with where you're going with your family. You can still go to church on Sunday. I don't know why people act like they can only go to church one day a week. You can still go to church on Sunday with your family, their husband, with your kids, whatever. I just think it's a beautiful thing. And so I want to continue to cultivate and create an environment where you can fall in love with the Word of God. My goal is to authentically teach the Word of God so that it, really reflects the true character of God, so that you can relate to it, so that it's relatable, so that it's understandable, so that it's practical. What's a practical thing you can take away from this? Well, one of the things is, what are you giving to God via your gift to the house of God? That's just a conversation you can have with God. That's just a conversation you can have with God. You ain't got to have that conversation with me. Don't have that conversation alone. It's a conversation you can have with God. And so just like practical things, man, you should join us. It's super dope. Set your alarm today. Go to bed early on Friday so you can get up Saturday morning, 8 a.m. EST. Somebody sent me an email like, oh, I really like to come, but that's 7 o'clock my time. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Meanwhile, back on the ranch, I have people from California logging in and it's 5 a.m. their time. So just saying, set your alarm, get up. If you had to be to work at 7 o'clock, you would get up and do what you need to do. And I think that's kind of part of the problem. We don't value learning the word like we do some of these dead end jobs we own. Oh, say it what I said. All right. I love y'all. I hope to see y'all in the community. Sign up, man. If you sign up here, that'll add you to the email list. I'll provide your first Bible study guide right now in the Bible study for the month. We are studying the promises of God. It's difficult to pray and stand on the promises of God when you don't know what they are. And so join us in diving in every Saturday morning. And I might see y'all later today. We'll see if I can get another, because I'm behind still. We'll see if I can get another day done. I haven't listened to it, but we'll see if I can get it done. All right. I love y'all. Later. Bye. Bye.